my foot got turned sideways on this carpet.
Okay.
And it like grabbed my sneaker. And all of a sudden, all my momentum went like this, and it stopped. But my feet were locked, and I just tipped just slowly, and I hit the ground with enough momentum that I slid under the DJ riser.
We're about 2 minutes out from Tim's place. Pretty sure we're going to his house. All the way up. Here we are. Yeah, this is good. You know you have a lens cap on that. All right.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
You okay with dogs?
I'm very okay with dogs.
The perfect one.
Are you Tim?
Yes.
How long have you known Kurt?
Like we probably like gotten to know each other better, I'd say in the last 3-4 years.
Okay.
In church.
Okay, nice.
And what's up, Tiger? Watch
Hello.
out, she's a mean one. How did you guys meet?
Really funny story. So technically, right now is when we met.
Ah.
Technically.
You're listening to For the Record, conversations about music, mixing, and the creative industry. Today's guest is Tim Rosenau. Tim has spent 17 years in the music industry and is the touring guitarist with TobyMac.
Good afternoon, Tim.
Hey, good afternoon.
Thank you for coming on the show, but also just letting me come into your house and
Yes.
sitting down for this conversation.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. So, being that we really haven't met until this moment, I'd love for you to take a moment and just kind of explain who you are and kind of what your gig is.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Tim Rosenau, and I live in Spring Hill, Tennessee, and I'm a father and a husband. I have a 12-year-old boy and a 16-year-old daughter, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
No, it's wonderful. And I'm a musician. I play guitar for TobyMac. I've done that for 16 years, been in the industry for 17. And you should know I'm a diehard fly fisherman. That's a pretty important piece of my life.
Okay, I've always been curious about actual logistics of fly fishing. How does that work?
Well,
We'll get to music stuff, but I just want to know.
Well, you're going down a dangerous path,
It's okay.
my friend.
We've got time.
The logistics of fly fishing. Well, this is how I sum up fly fishing. If you already enjoy catching fish and you're tired of catching too many, start fly fishing.
Okay. Okay.
It'll help. It'll help. No, it's a fantastic sport. I've been doing it 25 years now.
Okay.
And it's definitely my passion. It rivals this sometimes, for sure.
Okay. Probably doesn't, it's not as lucrative in a financial situation.
It's funny. No, I haven't found anyone to pay me to go fishing yet. I know that there, are people like that.
I'm sure there's a market for that.
There has to be, I'd probably have to sell my soul at some level to do that. But, yeah.
Man. So you said that you've spent almost your entire time in the music industry touring with TobyMac.
Yeah.
So it must be like a pretty fulfilling gig for you then.
Yeah. It's, I didn't have to pay too many dues. I will admittedly say that. Yeah, I mean, the whole jump in a van and tour and drive across the country thing and eat McDonald's every day, I did not have to do that. And so, I'm very grateful. It's a miracle that I was able to fall into that gig. It's an amazing story. I don't know if you want to hear
Oh,
about
100%.
that? Okay.
Because my next question was going to be, how did you get involved in the music industry? But then also, like, how did you get involved with TobyMac? And maybe that's the same story.
Yeah.
But
Well, it all ties together.
perfect. So let's go to the beginning.
It's to the beginning. All right. Well, I mean, I have to talk about her because she's a major part of my life. But my wife, Alyssa, we started dating when I was 15 and got married when we were 21. And shortly after that, I started working at a church.
Okay.
Directing music, worship leading, that kind of thing. So one of my singers, named Allie Rogers, Allie Dahlgren now, her family and I, we were very, very good friends, and she ended up winning a contest in Atlanta called Atlanta Fest. She won basically a record deal through Word Records at the time, and I ended up following her down and playing for her for certain gigs, and she started introducing me to people, kind of key movers and shakers in the industry, which really there's only a few. It's very small, at least at the time, It's, you meet so-and-so and they're all of a sudden you're like in an audition. And so that happened for me. And I actually had a guy speak over my life who was, I believe, helping manage Allie at the time or was on the team.
Okay.
He said, if you move to Nashville, God has some big things in store for you. So it was pretty cool to watch everything unfold. And
while this was happening, was there like a big picture in your brain of like, if I could go anywhere, I want to go this way with my life. Like I want to do this thing, or was it just seeing what happens?
I always wanted to. I battled because I wanted to be a rock star on one hand. Okay, admittedly so, but at the same time, I wanted to support an artist. I really enjoyed supporting Allie when I played for her, or just being in the background, playing bass and bar bands and things like that. I really did enjoy that. So I really felt ultimately what I wanted to do was support an artist. Be there. I even went so far as to I remember having conversations of I really wanted to be an encourager for artists. And that was something that was very important to me, that I wasn't just I guess a leech who just showed up, and at a gig, and I wanted to be a part of something a lot bigger.
Instead of you trying to get what you can from it, you wanted to contribute what you could.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. That was really important to me, and things bother me even to this day, where I feel like there's some stepping on to reach a higher level or jumping gig from gig, and I guess there's nothing wrong with that if that's your gig, and if you're jumping through the things. But I wanted to be a part of something. I wanted to be a part of a family.
Well, I think people can tell when they're being used. When they're a means to an end. Instead of for the sake of relational building, or how can I contribute to you? Like, I'm sure you ask anyone about the nature of relationships, it doesn't really work when it's like, how do I get? That's like the primary,
Absolutely. Yeah. Some great wisdom was shared with me. I don't remember who, but they said, not all relationships are for you. And that's an easy thing to forget. It's really easy. I'm teaching my kids that right now. But I'm still reteaching myself. Not all relationships are for you. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So at this point, you're with Alyssa, right?
Yeah.
Playing gigs down, meeting some key players, you said.
Yeah.
So what was next?
So what's next? I ended up doing a few gigs here and there, getting some calls for some things. I played for a couple different bands, did some auditions, auditioned for a fairly major artist that I didn't get the part. Two of the people, they were actually like judges. Like it was almost like there were three guys that I was auditioning in front of. And two of them chose me, and then one of them didn't.
What does that scene look like? Like if you're trying to become a supporting artist in a or in a band, you said it's like a judge kind of system?
Yeah, I don't know if it's like that very often.
No? Okay.
I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a lot of different situations. So many things are just hearsay and relational.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I've had, I guess, a couple guys fill in for me with Toby. I haven't missed many shows in 16 years, but the times that I have, I mean, it's just, hey, here's my fill in. You know, there's no auditioning or anything like that. And,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes it's like that. It depends.
Okay.
That's the way it was with Toby. I mean, it was an audition process, you know,
Yeah.
when he was moving into that.
Right.
So let's see, where was I?
Oh yeah, sorry, I interrupted you. There was like the judge
it's
system.
fine.
There was like the 3 people you went into.
Yeah. So that scenario was really, that was a pretty intense situation.
Yeah.
And I think I did well because I managed to leave a good impression on a couple of the guys who are key players to this day, like A&R people at labels and things
Yeah.
like that. And so one of them actually recommended me for Toby
Okay.
when he was auditioning. So there were several recommendations where Toby heard about me before we actually did the audition. One of them was I was playing for Allie. Remember the girl that I moved to Nashville to kind of be a part of her music.
Right.
We were playing in Slovakia, and there was a guy there who was playing drums in an old punk band, Christian punk band.
What was the
And
name of the band? Do you?
It was All Star United.
Okay.
And
Dang it, I don't know that one.
yeah, I said old, you know.
Yeah.
And anyway, he was playing drums, and we kind of hit it off, and he was, you know, really cool. And he said, "Hey, I'm gonna remember you for a gig, maybe. You know, maybe something will open up." And I was like, "Wow, that's great."
Yeah.
And I went home to my job at Radio Shack, and you know, like 6 months goes by, and in that 6 months, I end up playing for a mainstream band that was kind of getting started.
Okay.
And it was a bizarre situation, I'll say that. Okay? It was not a very comfortable situation, but it was, I wanted to play. And I did not want to work at Radio Shack for the rest of my life.
Right.
Which I wouldn't have, because I don't think they exist anymore. But I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
there would have been a deadline on that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Radio Shack exists anymore.
So I'm playing for this band, right? We do a few rehearsals. The manager of that band calls me and says, "Hey, you know, I'm really sorry, but the lead singer, I won't use any names, the lead singer wants to go back to his high school band. He just doesn't feel real comfortable with you guys." And this was another major audition process. Like, this was a Nashville audition to play for this guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay. And so part of me was like, okay, good. But then a part of me was like, I already quit my job. Like, what? I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. And so, I kid you not, the exact same day, the guy who I met in Slovakia, the drummer, called me. And he said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Well,
Not much.
I got to be honest. I just lost my gig." And he's like, "Well, this might brighten your day a little bit, but TobyMac was just in my studio checking out an artist that we're producing. And I told him about you. And he happens to be replacing Barry Grawl, who went to Mercy Me, longtime guitarist with DC Talk, and played with DC Talk, and was Toby's guy for a long time. And he was moving on, and so he's going to be holding auditions. And I told him about you, and I was like, "What?" It was amazing. So I ended up talking to the manager. And I was actually out of town during the audition. I was backpacking with my dad.
Oh, nice.
And the manager was really, really, really cool about it. And he was like, we'll get you in when you get back from the trip. So I get out of the Boundary Waters where we were canoeing and backpacking, and I check my messages on a payphone.
Nice.
You probably don't even know what that is, but
have I used one?
And I had no messages, so I was like, oh, I missed it, you know. And so some time goes by. He ends up calling me. I do the audition. Things go well. I end up getting my job back from Radio Shack.
Nice.
You know, during this process.
We all have the job that like we left and came back to for a time. I mean,
yeah.
I did that.
Oh, so I end up getting the job back, and so I'm working there, and then the manager calls me again, and he says, "Hey, we're still auditioning you, and we still have some guys flying in for the audition, but we feel like you did a good enough job. We'd actually like you to play the gig with us this weekend. Can you learn the whole set?"
And this was for Toby's.
Yes, this is Toby.
Wow.
And I'm like, sure, okay. So I got a board tape. I learned the whole set.
Yeah.
You know, just my fingers bled, like the whole thing. You're just like working your tail off.
Right.
And it went good. They still audition these other guys. And I don't hear anything for a long time, like a couple weeks. I hear nothing.
That's stressful.
Oh, you're telling me, like
Yeah.
I need to tell you, like I grew up a huge TobyMac fan.
Yeah.
Like DC Talk. I remember in youth group going to DC Talk concerts, posters, signatures, like the whole thing. I was a huge fan.
Yeah.
Still am, you know. And so
So it was like this surreal moment where you're like, this, I didn't know it was my dream, but now that it's on the table, like I would give anything to make this happen. And I feel like I did. And now it's out of my hands.
yeah, totally. Yeah. And I get a call one day, and it was kind of one of the booking people at management, and he says, "Hey, you know, is this Tim?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Hey, I just need to check your calendar for some upcoming Toby dates."
Like,
And I was like, "You mean I got the gig?" And it was dead silent on the other end. I mean, this is just a guy in the office calling people, and he's like,
Right.
"Nobody told you?" and I immediately was like, it was tears on your knees,
Yeah.
you know, with my wife, just praying and thanking God for this incredible thing. And that was it, man.
so, wow. Dude. So at what point in like Toby's discography was that? Thereabouts.
After Momentum
Okay.
and right before Diversity record, I believe.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was back in Iowa before I moved down listening to Momentum.
Yeah.
Going, this is epic.
Right.
What in the world?
Right.
This is like so fresh for me. I loved it, man.
Yeah. Dude, that is cool. So in that process, like what happened after that, like moving forward? Was it just like nonstop gigging? How did that look?
I mean, not nonstop. I mean, we've rarely done over 100 shows a year.
Okay.
That's kind of been what we've been booked for. And, you know, we've done overseas stuff. I've never been gone for more than 3 weeks.
Okay.
Which is great. You know, we're all family men, and I've got close buddies who are family men. They're gone for months at a time, you know, a couple months. And that is, that doesn't, I don't think I could do that. I'm not wired up for that.
Yeah.
I always say that my family, we are wired up to do what I do. We do really well when I travel. Maybe they're just really glad to get rid of me for a while, but
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
You know, it is totally true.
Right.
It is totally true.
Yeah.
You know, I've been married to Alyssa for 22 years now. I'm not sure. You can fix that in post.
We'll fix it in post.
But anyway, I'm pretty sure it's 22. And I mean, we're just doing really well. God has a real grace on our marriage, and I'm crazy about her. And I think she puts up with me really well. And I think that touring has been a really good thing for us. It really has, you know. And I mean, to go even a little bit deeper with that, I was talking to Kurt outside about this, but he...
Oh yeah, shout out Kurt. He's in the house.
Yeah.
Hey,
All
Kurt.
right. Is your mic working?
He's just chilling.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
This is fun.
we were talking about. Oh man, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Oh yeah,
Can
no,
you
we were
fix that?
talking about.
Oh, sorry. We're gonna go a little bit deeper about family.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Shout out to Kurt.
Shout out to Kurt. Yeah.
And I really truly believe that because of the people I get to tour with, I come home a better man. I'm not sure everyone can say that about the gigs that they're on.
Yeah.
But I am challenged. I'm sharpened by the people I travel with. And Alyssa can see that. She can see that. And
That's cool.
I can honestly say that my best friends in the whole world are people I get to tour with.
That's cool.
It is. It's tour it's really cool. And I'd like to think it's kind of rare and
Yeah.
special. You know.
I mean, I've never been a touring musician, but all the stories I've heard about is being on tour is challenging and it's hard and it's hard to work that with a family especially and so for you to be in a spot of not just I'm making it work, but like this is healthy and it has actually helped me a lot. That seems like a really cool opportunity.
Yeah.
And like a real blessing. That's cool.
It is. It's very life-giving.
Yeah.
Challenging, and we get along great.
Yeah. So in the process of touring and being just in the music industry as you've been, what has been some of the things that have been the most challenging about that? Be it like work, home, life balance, or just anything in the process?
Probably one of the more challenging things. There's been a lot of challenges, you know. Probably one of them initially that hits my mind is when I came into the gig. I was pretty proud of that. I was, I would say, internally.
Yeah.
I had maybe some unhealthy confidence.
Sure.
I
mean, not
but I
everyone
was
can
mid-20s,
say,
you know?
right?
I
Not
mean,
everyone can say like, I'm now the touring guitarist for my childhood favorite musician. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's a fun.
So, that changed when I realized, and this might sound a little strange, but I realized that I wasn't the guitarist that I thought I was. Okay?
Yeah.
I didn't start playing until I was 18.
Oh,
I didn't pick up a guitar until I was 18. And then I never really worked at improving and I wasn't around a lot of musicians, like if you grew up in Nashville, you're going to be awesome if you just rub shoulders with people that make you better.
Yeah.
And I think that's true about everything in life. If you want to be a better basketball player, you got to play with people that are older and better. And,
right.
and you want to be a better husband, you hang out with people that are better husbands. And,
right.
So I didn't have that. And when I discovered that, I kind of went into this dark place of feeling insufficient, even so far as to think that maybe it was a mistake that I was in the band. And this was very self-centered, self-loathing, admittedly so,
Sure, but it's valid feelings.
Yeah. All of a sudden I feel like I'm on the couch with my counselor. This is really interesting,
Your feelings are valid.
Should I put my feet up? But that was, I don't know how long that lasted, but there was a few situations where I think I probably jumped into some things a little too early. And I think there was also some assumption, well, he's playing for TobyMac. He must be, an A-list player or something,
Right.
I was good at learning what I needed to learn and playing what I needed to play for Toby. But that extra little, piece of your playing that you get really only from experience. I really believe that it's from experience and rubbing shoulders with other people. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
And I think there's an edge that you get when you're sitting in a live tracking session and you got to hit it. You got to play it,
Yeah.
And so anyway, I went through that phase. Sorry.
Do you think that was more self-imposed or like you sensed that from other people as well?
I'm sure it was mostly self-imposed.
Okay.
There were some situations that I got into in a studio where I was not ready. I'll say that.
Okay.
I've heard some musicians say, I just got off the road with a drummer that was playing for someone else. His dad was a major session guy player in town, and he wouldn't let him do a session until he was a certain age. He was probably ready, but he wouldn't let him. He wanted to make sure that, he was really ready, because, you don't want to burn bridges.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I probably got in a couple situations where they were like, yeah, he's a nice guy, but we'll probably call someone else next time. And it's not something I hold on to now.
Sure. It's all part of your origin story.
Yeah, it is. It's part of it. And honestly, if I can help somebody else, like I'm getting, I've been in this a long time. I'm 44 years old now.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the next generation of musicians coming up. I'm looking at them and I'm going, how can I help them? What would I have wanted someone to say to me? I would have wanted someone to say to me, you're not ready. I would have really wanted that at this point.
Yeah.
At the time it would have sucked, but
Right. So in that same vein, if there were people that were coming to you or listening to you or listening to you, saying like, what's a piece of advice before I just, sell everything I have and move to Nashville to become a big famous musician, what would you encourage them to do?
Man, I would encourage them, number one, if they are a believer, to lay it down. This is also a major part of my story. I was in Nashville working at Radio Shack. Nothing was happening. I know things happened fast for me, but I was impatient, and I heard a sermon or something at some point. I literally put my guitars in their cases, and I had like a couple, but I put all my gear away and I got on the floor, man. And I asked God to just take it, just take it. I was holding on to everything too close, and I was trying too hard, and I was pounding on doors and nothing was opening, or so I thought. And man, it was shortly after that I ended up getting a call from my buddy who I met in Slovakia. I mean, it was pretty miraculous the way it took that step, you know. And I think God at that point said, all right, I got this. As long as I'm holding it like this, I was like this for a long time.
Right. There's a quote from my pastor. He said, I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but he said, God wants to bless us to the fullest capacity our humility can handle, I think is what he said. But I've seen time and again in a lot of situations when someone is actually like, I want all this, but like, I'm just going to go into it with open hands and say like, God, what do you want? It's usually the posture with which things actually move forward, because you're not basing your success in who you are and all those things. Yeah. The sermon that I drew from to take that action was my pastor and boss back in Iowa at the church that I worked with. He would talk about painting this picture, very visual, painting this picture of your biggest dreams, and for me, I'm like, Nashville musician. I didn't really know, rock star, whatever, and paint it, and he said, paint it on this huge canvas in your mind, use bright colors and just make it very vivid and everything. And then take that picture and lay it at the foot of the cross and step away, walk away. And, that was what I was doing when I closed up my guitars. And, to this day, I believe that God honored it like crazy, I mean, look at what I get to do. Right.
I got an amazing life.
Yeah, man. So then on a lighter note, I'm sure that's also brought about your time working with Toby some funny stories as well. Yeah. Or just ridiculous situation stories. Where you're like, how did we get here?
Yeah.
So throw some of those out.
Well, let's see. So there's been a couple of nice falls for me on stage.
Oh, yeah? Any, like, guitar strap, like, fails?
No. I've never had a guitar strap fail.
Okay. Every time I've had it, it's been, like, perfect timing where I'm also holding it.
Oh, yeah, and it just goes down?
Right, and you're just like, no one saw that.
I've seen a few great ones.
Yeah.
But I haven't had that.
Okay.
One really epic fall for me was we were in Florida. I remember that. And for some reason, we were on in-ears. And so, but for some reason, there was this behemoth monitor wedge in front of my pedal board.
Okay.
And it was there for me, but we were on in-ears. So I wasn't used to it, is my point. And a lot of times when I would do guitar switches, I'd step over my pedal board.
Okay.
So, and this wedge, it was the biggest wedge I've ever seen. It was like a mane. I don't know what it was doing down on the floor. And so we were really crunched for time.
Yeah.
And so I'll never forget, Dave, our music director, calls out, hey, we're going to do the slam. And one of Toby's songs.
Yep.
And
that one goes hard,
Yeah. And so I had to do a guitar change. And I was like, and I looked up at him and I was like, all right, let's do the slam. And I stepped over my board and that wedge was there. And I had a Les Paul. And I landed on the Les Paul, and the strings went right here. The body of the guitar went on me, and I landed face first. And I remember the sound of the headstock going, and it sounded like a broken bone. It was crazy. And just went clap, and it just snapped the head, and just the strings cut into my elbow, and it hurt so bad. And I thought, it hurt bad enough that I thought I was nauseous or something, but then also I was really embarrassed. So you don't know, am I going to throw up because I'm embarrassed?
Because how big was the crowd on average? If you remember?
It was sound check. It was sound check.
Praise the Lord.
So yeah,
At
exactly.
Least it wasn't
No, it wasn't. It
that
wasn't
would have been
showtime.
That would have been so. That would have been really funny. This is still funny, but
yeah. So I ended up borrowing another band's guitar that they tune everything down. Okay. So he had bass strings on his guitar. so when I tuned it up, the action was like this, and so it was really painful to play. But but I got it fixed. It's my baby over there. It's the '60s reissue.
Hey.
And they did such a good job, and people are like, once you get a Les Paul fixed after it's broken, it plays better than ever. And I love it. I played it in church on Sunday. It's a killer guitar. So that was an epic fall for me. Usually they're falls. Here's what people think. They think I'm clumsy, but I'm not. I'm a little bit athletic.
Yeah.
The problem is when you tie your hands to something, you lose a form of balance. And so that's what happens when you're playing the guitar and jumping around, because I'm very active on stage, and I used to be way more active when I was younger. But there's nothing to catch your fall.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one more good fall if you want to hear it.
I'd love to.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Same guitar.
Okay. Oh, that guitar's just been through stuff.
Oh, it's been through it. And we were, doing a show, and there was this, they were carpeted risers, okay, which is a terrible idea. Yeah. But there was carpet, it was like a church show or something, and I was up on the drums. I got up on the drum riser, I'm rocking out, and I'm getting ready to jump off at this big moment, and I had Vans sneakers on. Okay. And I remember turning. Okay, so I have to paint the picture a little bit. So in the center was the drum riser. Okay. And then maybe, 7 feet to the right, stage right, was the DJ riser. Okay. Okay. And he was maybe 2 feet off the ground, and then the drum riser was maybe 3 to 4 feet off the ground. Maybe. That's pretty high, but maybe 3, 4. And I turned, and I was going to jump. This epic moment, it was like, B3, and I was going to just explode. And my foot got turned sideways on this carpet. Okay. And it grabbed my sneaker. And all of a sudden, all my momentum went like this, and it stopped, but my feet were locked, and I just tipped just slowly, and I hit the ground with enough momentum that I slid under the DJ riser. And so my legs were out Okay, so this is bad. Like, I'm under a 2-foot riser. You can't just get up on your
Was
hands
this
and
sound
knees.
check as well?
No, this was straight show. And my feet were, just imagine all you saw on stage were like my feet under this, right, and my guitar's under there. And
Could you / did you just keep playing? Because at that point, you're
well,
just like,
here's what happened.
Or pull your feet in and just like disappear.
The jack snapped off of my guitar when I fell, so there was no playing,
Right.
obviously. And so I had to worm my way out from under this thing because you can't can't
Is this
get
sound
up.
check or live?
This is live. This is live. And so Clint, my guitar tech, just wonderfully, resoldered things and put them back together. And I mean, that was one of the better falls. I wish I had that one on tape. But,
when those there, did they try to address it, or did everyone just pretend it didn't happen?
I mean, we were a borderline circus on stage. I mean, just high energy. No one noticed, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
There's so
sure.
much happening.
Part of
here.
the show.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Madge, our DJ, was like, "What in the world?
What's he doing? What's Tim doing?
Did he drop his pick or something?"
You're like, oh man, I can't. This is my pick.
Yeah, but that was a good one too.
So, the title of the podcast is For the Record, right? Kind of trying to do a play on words, talking mostly, I mean, about the music industry, but a lot of it being about the studio stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, how much time have you spent in the studio? I know you've done a lot of stuff in touring, and you've mentioned some studio stuff. Have you been the primary guitarist in Toby's studio sessions too?
No, I haven't.
Really?
I've gotten to play on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I've even been able to write some music for him.
Yeah.
Which is great. But the way that records are made nowadays, it's some records, I'll say. It's a lot of times the producer is the guitarist and the drummer and the keyboard player. They play everything, and so sometimes that happens. Sorry.
So
go ahead.
sorry. It's less like here's a band. I mean, maybe in a full-on band situation it's different, but it's less like let's write parts as a band and then come in and record it. It's more like here's an idea, and the producer's like, let's do this line, let's do this part,
Right.
And then you get this is what your part is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of times it's like that. Toby's really, really great about, at this point, I think I have about as much freedom as I would want. He'll tell me if he doesn't like something, that's fine.
Yeah.
As far as the live show goes. And then I'd say the last few songs I played on for him have been right here. He flies me a track and said, "Hey, can you play this?" He's super cool about wanting me to be a part of the records, but also the way records are made, like I was saying, like he works with a lot of different producers, and it's just go time when he goes in. And so I think sometimes he finishes a record and says, "I didn't have Tim play on anything," and they'll call me and like, "Hey, can you play on this really quick?" And
Just for the,
sure,
the
man.
principle of the thing.
Yeah, the principle and just love. I
Yeah.
mean, he loves me, and I love that.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And so I really, really love being able to contribute to the tape side of Toby. I got to play recently on Promised Land.
Okay.
And Promised Land is, I don't know if you've heard it yet, but it's going to be a new single.
I don't know if I have yet. Maybe I have.
It's one of my favorites that he's done.
Is it?
And when I heard it initially, I was like, I got to get on this one. I love that. And sure enough, he had me play on it. And so I got to do some really cool kind of edgy stuff on the end. And it was great, but it meant a lot. I love being able to hear a song and be able to play on the ones that I really love.
Yeah.
So that was special. And Sheryl Crow sang on that song too.
Oh, really?
Which is really cool. Maybe I'm not supposed to say that. I don't know.
I mean, when is this single going to be released?
Well, the single doesn't have her on it, as at least the first one that was released, but she's on it for something else. I don't know. Maybe they're going to do a mainstream release. I don't know.
Because, I mean, if you're listening to this right now, we're shooting this in, October? But
Yeah.
the plan isn't to release these until, December at the
Great.
soonest.
So
you think
if
you got
guys
some time.
hear Cheryl singing on one of Toby's songs, leave it in.
Yeah.
We'll cut it.
Right.
There's just a bleep through.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can just bleep out the word Cheryl Crow, right?
Yeah, right.
There was another bleep. Thanks a lot.
Intentionally omited. Yeah. Your secret's
Randomly
safe.
censored.
Yeah, your secret's safe with us and our 20 listener base.
That's funny.
Oh man. So, you've got a small studio set up here. And if you're mostly a touring musician, my guess is this is more for dabbling in personal things and some other side stuff.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. What is your side operation here going on?
It is. I do a lot of tracks.
Okay.
I would say most of the things I do here is country.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a good friend that is a country writer.
Okay.
And so a lot of times they'll look for tracks, and so I kind of have this really cool outlet where he's like, hey, I need a mid-tempo kind of Tom Petty vibe type thing. And I'm like, cool. I'll kick something out there.
Yeah.
So I do that, and then also I'll demo out country songs for him.
Okay.
And that's fun. I get to do that. But I really I love being able to create just to create. Like if I'm inspired to do a rock song, I'll do that, or maybe something a little more dancey, I'll do that. And,
Yeah.
with the hopes that maybe I can get. I was just talking to Kurt about this too. Is put a reel together to maybe get involved with some sync or some film and television type situation. Maybe someday.
Yeah. It's fun to, and I think it's important, especially in the music industry, to do things that are also for yourself and not for a specific end. Trying to mix the creative process in with the monetary reality that I need to pay the bills and I need to make a living can be really tricky. And so I think it's really important to keep it a personal passion too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the older I get, the more I see that is really important. The creative side, it needs to breathe in me. Yeah. And it's been a bit stifled lately, I think maybe I hit a point of approval got really important to me, and maybe I got scared to create because of that. This is all coming out slowly, and again, I'm sitting here with my counselor. So
dude, I love having conversations that are a little bit more than just on the surface. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'll go deep.
Hey,
Careful.
it's like we've known each other for more than 2 hours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's really important to not stifle that, and I'm discovering that importance really as of late.
Yeah.
So I'll just get in and do some work, and there's a really cool pool of musicians just almost in my neighborhood that are good friends, and I feel like I actually picked a couple of them up from the airport last night, and we got to talking, and I was like, man, what if we did a music mafia kind of thing where we just started kicking around song ideas and started building a library, and they loved it. Now we just need to carry through, because everybody's got a home setup, you know, and so I think that will really help the creative process.
Yeah, that's cool. And it's that creating for the sake of creating with people that are doing the same thing.
That's key for me because we were talking about this earlier. Is the introvert in me just kind of wants to hold everything really close.
Yeah, and
maybe there's some underlying insecurities in there where as long as I'm the only one listening, no one's going to tell me it sucks.
Yeah.
So
I mean, music, the creative process in general, but music is really vulnerable.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to write something and do something original. I think Jesse, in our last episode, I think we were talking about this. The idea of doing something original means that no one's done it before, which means that it's a really vulnerable position to be in. Yeah. The greatest ideas, if they're just in your head, can sound like really dumb ideas. So there could be a fear about that.
Yeah.
but that's also part of the beauty of the music process
Absolutely.
and how it's more than just a collection of notes. There's a culture that's important to keep it healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Nicely put.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're pretty smart for a young buck.
Ah,
I'll tell you.
thank you. I've received that. I appreciate that. What can I say? Shout out to my mom.
Hey, we need to give shout outs to our mom.
Yeah. My mama taught me well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're running short on time.
Okay.
But thank you so much, first of all, for
Yeah.
everything. I guess last question is looking forward. Like, what are your dreams? Everyone can dream, no matter where you're at in the process. And
Yeah.
what kind of things would you like to do in this next season?
Outside of music, I just want to raise my kids well, and I want to have great relationships with my family. That's really important to me.
Yeah.
And within music, I would love to have a repertoire of a lot of finished music that I feel like I accomplished something. I used to say when I was younger, if I don't make a rock record by the time I'm 40, I'm gonna quit or something. Something that young people say, and obviously that didn't happen. I have a lot of songs, and I think it's just a matter of capturing them and making them right. And maybe it was a timing thing. Maybe I wasn't ready, like we talked about earlier. So I would love, I don't have a timeline, but I would love to have that, to be able to just start creating to create and finish things. And with the way software is now, and I've dabbled in mixing and I've, produced quite a bit, I have everything at my fingertips.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm, from a small town. Well, I am from a small town, but it's not like I'm stuck in a small town where you have to rent studio time from Joe around the corner. And it's not like that. Everything's at my fingertips. So I feel like God has given me the talent and the resources to do something. And so I guess just doing something is my goal. Something.
Well, it sounds like that idea you have set up of a community even nearby of friends that you trust that are going after the same thing is that's a really healthy spot to start that. So
I think so.
So if I can encourage you to just step forward into that.
Yeah.
Trust them because they're probably in the same place that you are of that insecurity of music being vulnerable.
Yeah.
But that's where some really special things can come is well-placed trust.
That's good. That's great. I feel like we should hug.
I would love to.
Well, we'll wait.
We'll do it later.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, off camera.
Anyway.
Right.
Hey, I got a quick question.
Yeah, go for
Just
it.
for these guys that have been on the road and been on stage, famous stages or, around the country, around the world. What's a top pinch me moment? Like, man, I can't believe I got to do this or play for this person or meet this person or whatever.
That's great.
That's a great question. Shout out Kurt Heinecke.
Great question. This is funny. So like I said, I just said I'm from a small town in Iowa called Monticello.
Okay.
At least into high school, through high school. I lived in Monticello, Iowa. And Monticello, Iowa has a great Jones County Fair. And I used to play the free stage in a little rock band that I had in high school. And we got booked to play on the main stage.
Okay.
And it's a big stage. They brought a lot of huge artists in. Keith Urban, Chris Stapleton. A lot of cool things. So they wanted to do a family faith night or something on Sunday night.
Yeah.
So the first artist that they booked for that was TobyMac, and it was 100% a pinch me moment because it was my childhood, and playing the free stage when I was younger. My girlfriend would come watch, who's now my wife, and her family would come watch, and there was so much love from this small community in Monticello. they put signs on the trees as the bus was coming in that said "Welcome home, Tim," and "We love you, Tim."
That's so cool.
You know, they did all that, and then my mother-in-law had she and a lot of other people in the community had a potluck at the farmhouse where my wife grew up.
Yeah.
And so the whole band got to go out and see the farm, and then on stage that night was just really, really special.
Yeah.
Toby gave me a little extra love, and I got to do a nice big guitar feature, and ended up on my back, and you know, it was really, really, really cool.
But not under the DJ riser.
Right.
Nope. Nope.
Not under the
not accidentally. It was sheerly out of passion.
Right. Oh man, good question. Oh man. Well, final thanks for letting us invade your house and talk with you.
Absolutely.
This has been a pleasure.
Yeah. Very cool.
And we'll talk to you sometime soon, probably.
Yeah, I hope so. Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys next episode. Bye. You said like pretty much most all early 90s Christian contemporary music you had a hand in.
Yeah, in the mainstream.
So like you said Amy Grant.
Yeah.
Rich Mullins.
Oh yeah, Rich Mullins.
What about like Stephen Curtis Chapman?
Yeah, first time I worked on his record, Brown was producing that.
What about DC Talk?
I worked on one, and I don't even remember which record it was.
This is a fun game.